Sarah Parker was born in July 1809 as a native of Clavering, situated near Saffron Walden in Essex. In 1828, she entered into marriage with Richard Chesham, a farmer, resulting in the birth of their 6 sons. However, the burden of raising their large family took a toll on their financial stability. Tragedy struck in January 1845 when 2 of the Chesham children, Joseph and James, fell severely ill and eventually died. Disturbing symptoms like vomiting and stomach pains raised suspicions among the local community that foul play was involved. Although a local doctor attributed their deaths to cholera, suspicions of poisoning lingered. The cloud of suspicion darkened further in the following year with the sudden death of Solomon Taylor, an illegitimate neighbor's son. The child had been in good health after birth but rapidly deteriorated in June 1846. Solomon's mother, Lydia Taylor, alleged that Sarah Chesham had fed him rice pudding and apple turnover before his illness. Although the prominent toxicologist Alfred Swain Taylor found no conclusive evidence of poisoning upon examination, the exhumation of Joseph and James Chesham's bodies revealed fatal amounts of arsenic in their stomachs. The legal proceedings commenced and Sarah Chesham faced her first trial on March 11, 1847, for the deaths of James and Joseph Chesham. Surprisingly, she was acquitted by the jury in a mere 10 minutes. The decision rested on the prosecution's inability to prove her direct involvement in administering the poison, as no witnesses had observed her doing so. The subsequent trial for the murder of Solomon Taylor took place the following day, yet Chesham was acquitted once more, this time under the judge's direction. The court ruled that it had not been definitively established whether poisoning was the cause of Solomon's death. The verdict drew public outrage, with the Times labeling Chesham as an accepted and reputed murderess. Sensationalized media articles propagated claims that she offered her services as a poisoner for a fee, and accused her neighbors of complicity for failing to report her suspicious activities. The public sentiment led to Chesham's ostracization as she encountered taunts like Sally Arsenic from locals when traversing the streets. In May 1850, Richard Chesham, her husband, succumbed to an extended battle with tuberculosis. An autopsy revealed traces of arsenic in his body, though the dosage was insufficient to cause death. Throughout Richard's ailment, Sarah had diligently attended to his care, exclusively providing him with milk thickened using rice and flour. Subsequent police investigations resulted in Sarah's arrest, even after a coroner's jury declined to charge her with murder. A substantial quantity of arsenic was discovered in a large sack of rice, from which Sarah had been feeding her husband. Despite Richard's death, Sarah faced charges of attempted murder due to the insufficient arsenic levels to cause fatality. The prosecution argued that she had systematically administered small doses of arsenic to weaken Richard's resistance, rendering him incapable of combating tuberculosis. Testimonies, including one from Hannah Phillips, stated that Sarah had contemplated poisoning her husband and even offered to poison another person's spouse. In the end, Sarah Chesham was found guilty of attempted murder. On May 25, 1851, she met a public execution by hanging, carried out by William Calcraft. Tillie Klimek, originally named Otilia Burek, was born in Poland and immigrated to the United States as an infant with her parents. She first wed her initial spouse, Joseph Mickiewicz, in 1895. Tragically, Joseph passed away in 1914, following a brief illness, with his death certificate attributing the cause to heart trouble. Shortly thereafter, Klimek married Joseph Ruskowski, a local resident, who also met an untimely demise. Even a boyfriend who had previously spurned her affections suffered a similar fate. The crime for which Klimek eventually faced trial was the murder of her third husband, Frank Kupsik. Frank fell ill while they resided in their apartment, a place where Klimek had previously lived with a boyfriend under the alias Myers. Klimek began foretelling Frank's imminent death to neighbors, even taunting him with phrases like, "It won't be long now," and "You'll be dying soon." She humorously remarked to others that he had 2 inches to live. In an eerie turn of events, Klimek even knitted her own mourning hat while sitting at Frank's bedside, a hat she would later wear during her trial. She asked her landlady for permission to store a discounted coffin she had come across in the basement, contributing to the belief that she possessed the ability to predict deaths. In 1921, after Frank's demise, Klimek married a man named Joseph Klimek and resided with him at 1453 Tell Place. When Joseph fell ill, doctors suspected arsenic poisoning, and subsequent tests confirmed their suspicion. Klimek was apprehended, and it was later reported that she told the arresting officer, "The next one I want to cook dinner for is you." Klimek's previous husband's remains were promptly exhumed and discovered to contain fatal levels of arsenic, even though the surrounding soil was uncontaminated. This revelation led to the arrest of her cousin, Tillie Klimek. Klimek confessed to the police that she had expressed her dissatisfaction with her husband, Frank, to Tillie, who suggested divorce. In response, Klimek cryptically declared, "I will get rid of him some other way," and alleged that Tillie had provided her with a substantial amount of a poison known as rough on rats. Following Klimek's apprehension, a disturbing pattern of deaths among their relatives and neighbors began to surface. 2 neighbors with whom Klimek had quarreled fell seriously ill after consuming candy given to them by her. Moreover, a dog that had irritated Klimek at her Winchester Street residence had succumbed to arsenic poisoning. Numerous cousins and relatives of Klimek and Tillie had fallen gravely ill shortly after dining at Klimek's home. Shockingly, there were 20 suspected victims in total, and 14 of them had tragically lost their lives. While some of the other wives from the neighborhood faced arrest, they were subsequently released. Remarkably, Joseph Klimek, her 4th husband, managed to survive, despite being hospitalized for more than 3 months. It was later discovered that Klimek had taken out life insurance policies on her husbands, from which she had gained considerable profit. In March 1923, Klimek was convicted of the murder of Frank Kupsik, her 3rd known spouse. Reporters noted that unlike most female perpetrators who had been acquitted in Chicago courts, Klimek did not possess the typical attributes of beauty or charm. She was described as a squat woman who could only communicate in broken English, despite having lived in the country since infancy. She received a life sentence which marked the harshest punishment ever imposed on a woman in Cook County. Tillie, who had spent a year in prison during her protracted trial, was eventually acquitted. Klimek frequently taunted her while they were both in prison, once even convincing her that she was on the verge of being hanged. Klimek passed away in prison at Joliet Correctional Center on November 20th, 1936, and her remains were laid to rest at the Bohemian National Cemetery in Chicago. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing by clicking the red subscribe button below. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to us. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.